G period, O period, D period. You can use whatever name you wish for this presence that you know that it's an indwelling presence within you. So let's get comfortable in our chairs. One meditation teacher tells me comfort is king, or queen as the case may be. So let's just get comfortable in your body and relax just for a few moments as we begin this time of quietness, of stillness. Just as Denise Rozier is saying, be still. Breathe that awareness of being still into your mind and body right now. Can you feel the anxiety and stress? Any of that be mitigated right now as you just be still. So if you haven't already done so, I invite you to close your outer eyes and keep your inner eyes open to this consciousness, this awareness that you are. Our minds, our ego minds, sometimes it will deceive us and tell us that we aren't spirit, we're not a soul, we're not this inner awareness that we know when we pause and be quiet that we are. You are already spiritual. You are already spiritual. It's just that your mind sometimes is not aware of this. So during this meditation practice, I invite you to relax your body, scan your body for any place that you may be holding anxiety or tension or concerns or care. Breathe into those places right now. Fully relax your body. Let your feet rest on the floor, your hands on your thighs or in your lap to support your arms. Turn your awareness to the top of your shoulders. We carry so much tension and anxiety in our shoulders. Just release. Just feel a conscious release right now. Same with our face. Relax your forehead. Consciously move your awareness and your attention to your forehead and then to your jaw and relax. As you continue to breathe, just relax your body and realize that we have a body, you have a body, and you're choosing in this moment not to move it. Peace, be still and know. Peace, be still and know. And just as we turn our awareness to the body to relax, we turn our attention and awareness to the mind. Release any thought that you may be having this morning. We're not trying to control thoughts. The monkey mind will stay active. We just release. And as if we get attached to a thought, return to the breath. Breathe in, peace, release, love. Breathe in, peace, release love to the world, and to yourself, and to every organ in your body. Spiritual realization helps us to know that we are present in spirit right now. So as I make this series of affirmations, I'll use the personal pronoun. Make this personal for yourself. I realize that there is a divine presence at the center of my being. I let this recognition flow through my entire consciousness. I let it reach down into the very depths of my being. I rejoice in this realization. The perfect life of God is in and through me in every part of my being. Just as the sun dissolves the mist, so my acceptance of life dissolves all pain and all discord. I am free because the Spirit of life in me is perfect. It remolds and recreates my body after the likeness of the divine pattern which exists in the mind of God. And continue to breathe. Even now the living Spirit is flowing through me. I open wide the door of my consciousness to its influx. I permit this physical body to receive the living Spirit in every action, function, cell, and organ in my body. I know that my whole being manifests the life, love, peace, harmony, strength, and joy of the Spirit which indwells in me, which is incarnated in me, which is my entire being. I am now made vigorous and whole. I possess the vitality of the infinite. I am strong and well. The life of Spirit is my life. All of its strength is my strength. Its power is my power. Its body is my body. Every breath I draw is a breath of perfection, vitalizing, upbuilding, and renewing every cell of my body. I am born of Spirit. I am in Spirit. I am the Spirit made manifest. Peace, be still and know as we rest in the silence. I am born of the Spirit. I am in the Spirit. I am the Spirit made manifest. So now in this awareness, I invite you to take a deep breath in and fully release it. And you can begin moving your body by wiggling your fingers and toes. Roll your shoulders. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So again, welcome. Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. When we started looking at this now 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, something like that, there's several chapters in here that we probably won't get to. We have 2 more. Bill's Warner scheduled to speak next week, and then I'll speak the last week. So if you're if any of this interests you, you can always buy the book. You can go online. Brene Brown's got some really interesting and funny podcast on there about this book, so you can listen to it. She does a podcast with her 2 sisters, her twin sisters, and it's really funny, really funny. You can imagine sisters getting together. But when and I mentioned to you the very first, I haven't mentioned first week, I haven't mentioned to you again, there's a wholehearted inventory that you can take on her website. It's free. And it gives you kind of a perspective, checks your gas tank, as she calls it. Where's your gas tank? On all these issues about cultivating authenticity, self-compassion, resilient, gratitude and joy, creativity, play and rest, on and on and on. So when I was doing this early on in preparation for this, my gas tank was less than half full on this particular topic. And I'll tell you about that as we go through today. So it's part of what made me jump ahead a little bit from where we were last week and pick this one, pick this topic. Because have you ever sat down and watched TV all day on Saturday as a way of rest? Maybe it wasn't watching TV all day. Maybe it was reading a book all day. And then soon afterwards, you jump up and you say, I can't believe I just sat here and wasted my whole day binge watching this stupid TV show. Well, I have. And I may do it next Saturday. It's been a struggle for me to know how to cultivate play and rest, as you'll see as we go through this today. And many of us have had that in our journey. Fortunately, we're at a place now where I don't think that's quite as prevalent, but maybe it is. So when interviewing for her research, the people that what's interesting about this book is Brene discovered more about herself than she did about the research, about what she was researching. So it was if you remember, she calls it a spiritual awakening, a spiritual breakdown. That's what she really called it. Some point early in the research, because she realized that she wasn't living as a wholehearted person. She wasn't living what she was finding out. And that a wholehearted person is love and joy, having love and joy incorporated into your life. So as she was interviewing people, she says that she felt like an alien because people live lives totally different than hers. And I can relate to that too. Wholehearted people had a different way of living, even with almost like a foreign language. So I put in the little bio for Rose to read this morning just to get your attention, because she had it in the book, so I thought it was pretty funny. One day she told a colleague that these wholehearted people fool around a lot. Now I know where your mind went, and that's probably why I put it in there. The colleague laughed and said, fool around? How? Well, she didn't go into any details about it, but she referred to fooling around as not having a schedule, being loose with their schedule. A lot of us can't do that, right? You got to have a to-do list. Even in our senior years, we have to have a do list to do things. We can't be flexible, can't have fun. If you're bent that way and you took your to-do list away, it wouldn't be fun anymore. A day-to-day wouldn't be fun. So Brene so what is this fooling around for these wholehearted people? What in the world is it all about? Is it time to rest and relax, and knowing how to do that. Some of you are champions at that. You could probably write your own book about that. Some of you know how to do that, I know. Some of us don't know how to do that. So as she did the research to figure out what these wholehearted people were doing, because she was so removed from the concept, she said she came to the conclusion through the research, the interviews, it's play. It's play, a critically important component of wholehearted living. And I can see that she talks about seeing it in kids, and I can see that so clearly in my great-grandkids. Watching them play is just amazing. And we all have done that, been there, done that, but we've forgotten too. We've forgotten a lot of that. So when she said she got off to a rocky start because she didn't understand the language of the wholehearted people, she learned very quickly one key component. Do not Google adult play. Do not go online and Google adult play, because instantly she started having to do a whack-a-mole with all the pop-ups for the pornographic pop-ups, and so don't Google adult play. Well, or maybe whatever. That's one option. So when I worked as a engineer in business, was here in Panama City, and I was still working as an engineer, 2017 and 18, something in that time frame. And I wrote in here as I was writing that, I said, wow, that was pre-COVID and pre-Michael, pre-COVID. So that's hard to believe, just those few years ago, is how different life is. So I was traveling to Houston. Many of you know I was going through the coursework to do the LUT at the time, to complete my LUT, and I was taking courses and traveling to Houston in my engineering business. I had two clients, one in Houston and one in north of Atlanta, and so I was on the road traveling and even doing some of the coursework online while I was traveling in engineering. A Nashville friend and our client in Houston. Now Houston, if you ever know about the Houston Med Center, it's one of the most, there's something like 30,000 hospital beds just in a couple block radius. It's a phenomenal place. Well, one of the major hospitals there was one of our clients, mine and a buddy I still had in Nashville. He's an electrical engineer, I'm mechanical, so we were working there. And so one day they asked me either to come to Houston or come to a meeting, and I said, well, I can't. I'm already booked. So my friend, who I've known forever, and he's pretty vocal and pretty opinionated, and he said, what are you doing, Holdaway? How come you can't come to talk to Mike? Mike was his name in Houston, our client, and he's a good friend too. So, and I told him I was taking classes to complete. At the time, I was completing prerequisites for the UT, and I was also teaching classes. Some of you were in the classes that I was teaching on Lisenby at the time. I told my friend I was doing adult education for my church. Well, that was the wrong choice of words, because again, he went immediately, he said, sex education, because he couldn't imagine in a church it being anything. Why would adults be doing adult education? Well, so he started, again, we look for anything that we can pick on each other about. So he started laughing so hard, and immediately he said sex education. And I said no, but didn't do any good after that point. So then I think he immediately picked up the phone and called our client, our mutual client. And so then for months, every time I went to Houston, the first topic how's the sex education classes, the adult education classes going in Panama City. So it seemed to trigger that in me and in others, to think that I would be doing something like that as well. So as I read Brene's book, this chapter, the story seems similar to my story seems similar to what she discovered about cultivating rest and play. There's even a National Institute for Play. I didn't know that. It's founded by Dr. Stuart Brown, another Brown, no relationship, a psychiatrist and clinical researcher that Brene says she even referred to because he had done a lot of research about this thing called play. His book says, Play, how it shapes the brain, opens the imagination, and invigorates the soul. So Brene paired play and rest together as a result of the research, because she found that play is just as important to our biological systems as rest, sleep. So as I was developing this and thinking about it, it's a good thing that I wasn't tested on cultivating rest and play in my life. I would have flunked that test. I did flunk that test. So, for example, here's a few war stories, and I don't tell you these to, for any other reason than if it resonates with you, or it may resonate with somebody in your life. It may explain some of what they were going through or what you've gone through. My son is going through some of this exactly. He inherited whatever this is that I've got or had, because it's not the same. This is definitely progress, making progress through it. So during my 40-year career in Nashville, I worked nonstop. All there was work, because my sense of self-worth had told me I had to work more hours than anyone else in the company. Don't ask me to explain that. That's the way the world came to me. Part of it was my grandfather and dad. It's the way we expressed. I remember this. I just thought of this. My grandfather, as a teenager, I was sleeping in a lot on Saturday. I'd try to sleep in on Saturday mornings. Well, my grandfather would get the lawnmower and start cutting the grass right under the window where I was sleeping. So rest was not really an option. Now, we did go fishing, so that would be an exception. But that's what I thought I had to do in my business world. And I told young engineers who worked for me after a few years, I had several working for me, I didn't expect them to perform the extreme hours that I chose to do. So I can say today that the choices I made, even though I didn't feel like I had a choice at the time, it was a choice. But again, with the way these filters and the way your paradigms of life are faced, you don't think you have a choice, or at least I didn't think I had a choice. Work consisted of short deadlines, too many projects on short fuses, helping other engineers with their specific tasks that they couldn't do on their projects, travel, training, on and on and on. For years, I made a to-do list for the day, but would seldom check anything off the list due to the interruptions and for helping others. Again, now it's clear that I had a choice. I could have said no to them. I used an example one time with my business partners, that when somebody's walking by choking on a piece of meat, I stop and give them the Heimlich maneuver. That was a metaphor. That's what I did. That was my thought as a senior engineer, chief engineer. I thought that was my job. One time my business partner said, "Let them choke." I said, "I can't do that. It's not in my nature to let them choke." So I would stop, do the Heimlich maneuver, or while I was doing that, helping them, then my projects or my to-do list didn't go undone. So there's no excuse. It's just what it is. So it's clear to me that I had a choice, but I was caught in this web of low self-esteem, unworthiness fueled by shame and guilt, and the paradigms from my dad and grandfather. I even put this in an application, the couple applications I did for an LUT in the ministerial program, just saying that I developed through my career, I developed strong engineering skills and ability to do these huge projects and manage these huge projects. These skills were overdeveloped, but my self-care, interpersonal skills were underdeveloped. So, and that's not even a criticism. That's just the way we are. That's part of what all of us experience. And if it wasn't in my excess work, it may be something else for you. So in his book, Heart-Centered Metaphysics, Reverend Paul Hasselbeck teaches exactly about that. And I didn't know that at the time, years and years ago. How to use the 12 powers to be aware of these personality traits that may be over or underdeveloped. So for 14 months, I traveled every week from Nashville this was in the early 90s, every week from Nashville to Fort Lauderdale to help open an office in Fort Lauderdale. And again, the pace and demands of the work were something I didn't think I had a choice to. I was there to help open the office. We got overloaded, didn't have enough staff, and obviously my relationship, just having to travel like that, the relationship with my family suffered. I remember working nonstop for several days without sleep, and then getting in the car on Friday and driving to the, luckily you weren't driving that same period from Fort Lauderdale to Miami, going a week without sleep, and to catch a plane home to Nashville. It's so funny. I thought the reason to do it was my wife and I were at the camp. This is my first, well, we're not married anymore. You might have figured that out by now. So we were in counseling, and on Friday afternoon, I knew I could get back, and so I didn't want to miss that would not have been good to miss an appointment. So I drove half asleep to the airport. I was literally exhausted, obviously, and I remember a few times the flight attendant, I was flopped over in the seat, and the flight attendant had to push me back up because I'd sit on the aisle, so she'd have to push so she could get by. So I don't share these stories with you. These are the war stories to glorify my existence during this time, or to pat myself on the back, or even that I got through it, that I'll live through it. I tell you this because if you have or have had any sense of low self-esteem from any of this kind of reaction anywhere in your life, this may resonate with you. Or you may know someone in your life, again, that has trouble cultivating play, that hopefully my experience can let them know, and you know that we can get through it. I did not know how to cultivate play and rest, and I still work on this. In today's culture, where our self-worth is tied to our net worth, and we base our worthiness on a certain level of productivity. Now, again, if we're further along in our lives, it's not quite the same. Spending time doing purposeless activities is very rare for people that don't cultivate play and rest. And again, to some of you, probably most of you, that don't have a problem with that or don't have an issue with that, what I'm sharing with you doesn't seem even possible. But Renee, that's why I related so much to this chapter. So we convince ourselves that one of the things in the book that she said I really related to. We convince ourselves that playing is a waste of precious time. We even convince ourselves that sleep is a terrible use of time. And I did both of those. Have you ever, while resting on the couch, jumped up, got busy doing some things, or getting busy straightening things up in the house because you were napping on the couch or just resting, and somebody, your spouse or significant other or friend, came over and you couldn't let them see you resting? You couldn't be caught resting. You had to be doing something. Well, that's what I did. Don't do that. I don't do that anymore. If I'm taking a nap, if you want to come in, you can come in and take a nap with me, or just leave me alone for a minute until I wake up. So in my early adult life, I got mad even when my family, I'd get somebody, the phone would ring and they'd answer it, and then wake me up and tell them, wait just a minute, Ron's on the couch taking a nap, or passed out on the couch from exhaustion. And I would get mad at them and fuss at them. Don't tell somebody I'm on the couch taking a nap. You see, it's that thought that that they would think I was lazy. So yes, I felt lazy, even though working around the clock and then taking a nap. The shame triggers kicked in about being lazy. So that's the long story, and again, that's my journey for this, and that's why it speaks to me so deeply. So one of the things about there's an interesting thing these days about sleep that you may, if here's a key, so the reminder that it's time to go to sleep if this happens. So as Rose read in the little intro, the opposite of play is not work. Now this is Dr. Stuart Brown who says this, the other Brown. The opposite of play is depression. That's a very, and I can relate to that so well. He says in the long run, work does not work without play. So most of us tend to think about the second half of life in terms of getting old, dealing with health issues and letting go of our physical aging. But it can happen, the second half of life can happen at any age. Richard Rohr talks about this in his book, Falling Upward. Moving to the second half of life is an experience of falling upward and onward into a broader and deeper world where the soul has found its fullness and we are consciously connected to the whole. It's not a loss, but somehow a gain. It's a gain. And it can happen at any time in our lives. So even if we have relatives, it can happen at any time. Many have come to their human fullness often against all odds and usually through suffering. I definitely did. They offer models and goals for humanity, much more than celebrities and politicos who get so much of our attention today. Isn't that the truth? So again, I mentioned this earlier. Brene says what is shocking is the similarity between the biological need for play and our body's need for rest. A significant link in the quest for wholeheartedness. Sleep, rest, and play are so critical. Do you get enough sleep? That's up to you to answer. Brene says she knows now and acknowledges because she said she didn't do it at first, that she needs 8 to 9 hours, nothing short, between 8 and 9 hours a night, not the 5 and 6 she did for years and years and years. And there was even a finding by the CDC that shows insufficient sleep has a direct link to chronic illnesses and diseases, a direct link. Diabetes, heart conditions, obesity, depression, all of that has a connection with sleep. Yet somehow many of us still believe exhaustion is a status symbol of hard work. Even in our retirement years, many of us have that problem, many of us in the U.S., because we are a nation of exhausted, overstressed adults and raising overscheduled children. I'm amazed at how much we overschedule our children. I see that in my grandkids too. Choosing to rest and play is at best countercultural, and I think that's changing, but it has been. So here's a question for you. When is life best for you today? It's so interesting. It's worth buying her book to read what she and her husband and her family decided to do about her life. So her and her husband both, very ambitious, big careers, wanted a new kitchen and a new bedroom, on and on and on and on, want all this stuff. Nothing wrong with that, but what is the price that she had to pay for that? So her and her husband realized that the ingredients for joy and meaning to get those, what they needed in their life, meant giving up some things like going after a new house and new cars and all that. So for Brene's family, these ingredients for joy included getting enough sleep, working out, healthy food, cooking, time off, weekends away, going to church, being present with the kids, and a sense of control over money. Meaningful work that didn't consume us. Meaningful work, what an idea. I didn't get that message. And time to just hang out. Ingredients for joy and meaning. So she found no need to acquire more stuff, just let go of making more money. They were already making good money. That's not, there's nothing wrong with making more money, but if it takes away from your wholehearted living. And limiting the extracurricular activities for the kids. That's just a fabulous thing. I made a copy of this chapter, and I'm giving it to both my granddaughters, just so they can read a little bit of that, just so they can get another idea of that. Not that they don't want to listen to anything, they don't want to take advice from any of us, but if it's somebody else says it, then maybe that's okay. So here's the suggested homework. Sit down and make a list of specific conditions that are in place when everything in your life feels good. I've invited Karen and I to do this, my wife and I. Check this list against your to-do list and your to-accomplish list. Brene suggests a surprise may be waiting for you. So I have a list of things like self-care, exercise, sleep that will, it's a whole list. It's 2 more pages of stuff, and we don't have room for that. I knew we wouldn't, so I said I'm not going to. But we know what to do anyway. We already know how to do this. It's like there's several things that we've been doing. We know what to do. To cultivate play and rest, and just to be. We know what to do. So today, I choose play and rest. Let's take something off of our to-do list and put back on the to-do list to take a nap. Namaste.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Bob.
And thank you, Rose. And thank you, Unity Singers. And thank you to all of you that are here today.